right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GSL Up and Down matches. I am Moletrap. With me is Wolf.
Hi, guys.
And how's it going, Wolf?
It's going awesome. How was your 5-minute break?
It was awesome, man. I actually ran into a fan. We actually have a ton of foreigners here today.
Yeah, we do.
Foreigners meaning non-Korean. People come down here to watch the GSL. Guy came up to me and said, "Hey, man, I've been watching your videos on YouTube for like 4 years." I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome to hear."
That's pretty cool.
He came to Korea for a couple weeks. He's living in Japan. He's from Canada, but he decided to come on down to the studio. He's like, "Yeah, I got a little unlucky that the finals are actually in California while I'm here in Korea."
That's very unfortunate for some people. But it's going to be awesome at Blizzcon, and he can still come to the finals party here.
It's true.
As all of you guys who are in Seoul right now, if you're not able to go to Blizzcon, you know, you could actually just fly to Seoul and party with all of us, or you can go to one of your local bar crafts, or hang out with your friends. But anyways, up here we're going to have GuMiho, the Towel Terran, against Genius, our BlizzCon winner of last year. Let's see who's going to take this game. GSL.
All right. Over here at the right side of Metalopolis is our Terran player. Had a good run in Code A, trying to get into Code S.
GuMiho.
GuMiho's been around for a while too, man. He's not quite as old school as Genius, but he has been around for a while. And here is the winner of last year's BlizzCon. He's been playing on this map for over a year.
MVP Genius.
MVP Genius. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, these last two matches, everyone is tied. GuMiho versus Genius and Puzzle versus Sage. This is it. It all comes down to this match.
Yep.
If you win this game, you're Code S. It's as simple as that. If you lose this game, you're Code A. That's what it comes down to. So even though these players have been struggling, fighting, playing difficult games against hard opponents all afternoon, it all comes down to this one game that determines their fate in the next season of GSL. So a lot of pressure on both these guys right now.
Absolutely, man. I mean, this is it, like you said. And this probe is fortunate enough to scout his opponent first. He's also going to be able to see this gas, and we'll see the second barracks, most likely. Does see the second barracks.
Looks like GuMiho's doing the same thing he did on Terminus.
By the looks of it, I think you're right. Genius looks to be skipping his first zealot, at least initially here. Yeah, skip his first zealot, get a second gas. Going to be going gate, robo gate, most likely. Very safe thing to do when you scout your opponent taking gas. But when you see a second barracks, you don't necessarily have to. But it's safer to do this.
Yeah, gate, robo gate is pretty good. Very standard kind of safe build.
Yeah, it's very solid. And a reactor does go down for GuMiho and his main. Going to start a tech lab immediately on that second barracks as well, most likely. And that SCV is going to be picked off as soon as the Stalker's out. But he's been able to see everything that's going on. He sees double gases, and he can predict that most likely this is going to be a fast robo. In fact, he may even just make it in front of the SCV. But there's also the possibility, guys, that he goes for a Stargate. Most likely not, since he scouted 2 barracks, but it's possible.
Now, I wonder...
And look at the production tab.
Oh, there it is.
That's the Wolf sense for you, man. I knew he was going to do it. I don't know why. I just knew it.
It's the Genius sense, man. This is what Genius does.
He's going to actually add another gateway. Will he add a third gateway? We'll have to wait and see. This build is pretty dangerous to do against the 2-racks play. You have a lot of Marines out with that. And combat shields or stim very quickly, and in this case, it is going to be combat shields. Either way, though, it makes it much easier to deal with those Void Rays. Now, it could be a Phoenix play. We can't say, you know, it's going to be Void Ray play right off the bat. We can't say that necessarily.
Yeah, but it's Genius, so it's going to be Void Rays. No, you're right. We can't
Genius
say, we
was
can't
addicted to Void Rays for a time.
But yeah, there was a time where every single game, and we're going to find out, there it is, the Void Ray.
There's the Void Ray.
Yeah, and this is really interesting. Now, I wonder if Genius saw GuMiho's build from before. And before, GuMiho made Marauders and even a Reaper as part of his attack.
Very true.
So it's actually a good move to go for that Void Ray because he's going to have less Marines as a result of making all those Tech Lab units.
Well, this is a very different Void Ray build than the build that you hear a lot of Terran players complain about. This is actually going to be a Void Ray expand by the looks of it. He's going to make a second Void Ray. He's actually going to do what we saw players do in the beta on metal opposite close air positions and harass the main with a Void Ray. Most likely. He may use it to defend here a little bit as well, but he's going to harass the main and eventually make a Nexus. Now, meanwhile, back at GuMiho's base, there is a factory going up here. Now he's going to force field this off, but nice! Traps the SCV, because if the SCV had gone up to that sentry, it would have been so dead.
Warps in another sentry. And the Void Ray is in the main, trying to do some damage here. A couple Marines are there. GuMiho is turning around his whole army to come back and deal with this because he cannot deal with that Void Ray with just a couple Marines in his base.
Yeah, and in fact, he's canceled a Marauder on one of his barracks and had to make another Marine there, so now he's making only Marines. Starport being made, though, and a tech lab. Or actually, that's a reactor going down. He's actually just going to go into Vikings here and medevacs. You're going to have to make a Viking or two to help deal with those Void Rays.
Yeah, it's going to have to start out with... I don't know if I think he just saw that there's 2 Void Rays, so he's going to have to make 2 Vikings.
Yeah, he knows there's 2 now. And that Nexus is going to go down. So this Void Ray expand from Genius is so far gone pretty well. He was able to kill a few Marines, force GuMiho back.
GuMiho does not want to stay back, though. He's actually sending out his forces again, and if he meets that in open field, he could take out a lot.
He very well could.
Genius is going to fall back. He's got the sentries.
That was a close call, man. He almost could have force sealed those units up onto the tower.
Oh, that would have been horrible.
That was a close call there, and he's actually going to chase GuMiho all the way back. GuMiho could potentially win a fight here, but he doesn't know that for certain. And Genius is actually going to push him all the way here. Now he's going to start picking at these depots. So this is kind of like what a Void Ray all-in looks like, but Genius is actually expanded. He's not all in with this at all. Remember, though, those 2 Vikings that are on the way are going to be crucial. If you can take out the Void Rays, this attack will end. You will no longer have vision on the high ground. He won't be able to attack anymore.
Yeah, and of
That's
course,
the critical point here.
The other critical point is then going to be, well, the follow-up critical point, if those Vikings need to be microed properly to kite those Void Rays. Otherwise, they could just die.
Look at this. He puts most of his army on hold position. He's going to target down this depot. Now that the Vikings are out, though, he's not really going to be able to push forward very well.
Yeah.
The Nexus is done. He warps in 3 more Stalkers. It's always what you want to do when your opponent starts switching over to Vikings like this. Remember, he has a lot of sentries in this army as well, so if GuMiho tries to move most of his army up to the side, he can trap part of it at the edge of the ramp and pick it off with those Stalkers and sentries. So he has to be very careful. Both players have to be very careful, but GuMiho especially has to be careful here. And, you know, he actually doesn't even know about the Nexus at this point. He's probably got a good idea that's there, but he's kind of stuck in a hard spot here. Yeah. He doesn't have a command center. He's got medevacs out, but how likely are you going to want to do drops when your opponent has Void Rays flying around the map? Not very likely.
No. And that's the other thing, though, is that because GuMiho is in this position where he doesn't have a command center going, he has to attack. He has to attack soon, and Genius might not actually have enough to hold off an attack. The only thing is that he does not have Stim, so those forces are not going to be quite as dangerous.
Stim just finished. He does have Stim.
Oh, he does have Stim.
It just finished right when you said
I'm sorry.
that.
I didn't realize he had Stim already. So this is actually really bad for Genius. He might not be able to hold off.
It's going to be hard, but remember, he has a lot of sentry energy.
Yeah.
And with the Void Rays kind of sitting in the back doing extra damage, he might be able to hold this, but it is going to be, like you said, extremely difficult. And with all those Marines stimming, I don't know, man. This is going to be close. Guardian Shield goes up. This could be the battle that decides who gets into Code S. Force Shields go down immediately. Beautiful Force Shields. Those Marines cannot fire, cannot move.
Oh.
But the Vikings targeting down the Void Rays, and it looks like Genius may hold here, but it's still looking pretty close.
Genius is definitely going to hold. He loses the
Void
Rays.
SCV is coming down the line here.
SCV is coming in to finish the battle. This could turn
the
tide
no,
in
Genius
GuMiho's
actually
favor.
did not go up the ramp, and now he's going to have to use his probes to fight here.
Oh, probes.
He may need to pull more probes from his main. The Nexus under attack here.
The Viking lands to do
extra
Force
damage. Force Field traps his units outside of his main.
The probes fighting SCVs. The SCVs dying to the Stalker fire while the sentries are battled in the back by the Marines. The medevacs trying desperately to heal everything, but there's so few units left for GuMiho. Genius may clinch Code S.
I don't know, man. I don't know if he will. More reinforcements, and there's so many medevacs here still. They're running low on energy, though.
Gosh,
and it looks like Genius is going to pick off these Marines that are getting too far away from the medevacs. The sentries on the high ground doing extra damage, but still GuMiho killing a lot of the units of Genius. I think this one clump of units just may be enough to take him out here. Genius is going to fall. One Protoss falling down to Code A.
The medevacs ruling the day. The medevacs healing everything. Those last few units looked like they were desperately going to lose the battle. but 5 medevacs overhead healing them, and now GuMiho is in the base of Genius, unpowering all of his gateways. Any second now, we're going to see a GG from Genius, and GuMiho is going to Code S. Genius, the Protoss, the winner of Blizzcon, the longtime Code S player, is going to be falling down to Code A. And wow, that battle was so close. GG! GuMiho has done it in the clutch last game situation. Wow.
That was such a close game, man. He pulled so many SCVs. Those SCVs were being healed. And, you know, I think the biggest mistake that Genius made was trying to fight with the Stalkers down the ramp and trying to hold the Nexus. I think he should have sent all of his probes and Stalkers up the ramp immediately, where he had an advantage against the SCVs. Then, what's GuMiho doing but losing mining time? What's he doing but that? But he decided to fight on low ground. He microed his Stalkers really well. He picked off an SCV here, picked off an SCV there. Yeah. But eventually, he was like, well, I don't know, I'm trying to get up my ramp, but I can't. There's too many units. They have a better concave. I can't get back up my ramp. And, you know, he may have even should have better pulled all of his pros from his main too, and then killed everything, and then split his pros back if he wanted to save a Nexus. But instead, he fought it as natural, whereas the opponent had a better concave, and just barely with those reinforcements, the medevac stayed alive.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't even fault him too much because he almost won that battle.
Almost.
Like, it was literally down to, like, 3 Marines and 1 Marauder being healed by medevacs against, like, 3 Stalkers and a Sentry. It was that close that it was, like, 4 units for each of them, and the medevacs overhead were just barely keeping the Terrian units alive. I think there was a point where, like, he won a battle with just, like, a couple units, a couple Marines underneath before the reinforcements came in.
Yeah.
It was so
And then
so
at one
close.
point, some of the Marines split away from the medevacs, and Genius was killing those, and I was like, I don't know who's going to win. And when the SCVs got there, though, things changed pretty quickly. That was intense. One of the closest games I've ever watched, man.
That was insane.
All right, now here is our final match. Only one of these guys will advance. It's 2 fan favorites, especially Sage. Sage definitely, I think, even more fan favorite than Puzzle to win here. He's drinking his Pepsi, but remember, as you've said time and time again, as we've both tried to stress to you guys, Sage's PvP is really bad, and he's playing against Puzzle, whose PvP is decent.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really hard for him. The map is going to be Belshire Beach, kind of a weird map for PvP. It's stressing me out, man. It's a good map for 4-gate, that's for sure.
It is all on the line for this game. Sage and Puzzle, the winner of this goes to Code S. The loser goes back down to Code A. Everything's on the line here. Sage is going to have to pick up his game in his worst matchup. He's going to secure his spot. We're going to find out in just a second.